Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, and that was the immortal Judas Priest with "Heads Are Gonna Roll." Um, I remember one time, Russ, listening to that song. I had this job part time in the hometown where I grew up. They have this big loggers competition festival, which is like
Mhm.
the big thing for my town. They call it the World Championships every year. I think they just call it that. I don't know that there is such a thing when people are
Probably not,
climbing
but yeah,
spar poles and cutting size.
I think I've seen that on ESPN,
It's
like
pretty
ESPN
cool.
three.
I haven't been in decades, but I used to go as a kid, and it's pretty cool. We used to go to the other stuff back in the day. Lots of fighting going on in the streets, and then none of that stuff
Yeah,
happens anymore. It's like a ghost town now. It's just not the same. But I remember a guy that was working with us. We would prep the arena every year for a couple of weeks before the show. I had that job, and it was a fun job, a lot of work, but it was fun. And some guy had his boom box. Remember boom boxes?
oh yeah.
And he was
My
playing.
parents told me if they ever caught me with one up here, they were going to take it away from me.
um, he was playing the Judas Priest album. Of course, he played it over and over and over because it was the only cassette I think he had. But so they got a little old. But I thought some heads are gonna roll. I thought they were saying, "So let's a go a bowl." So
Well,
let's a go a bowl. And I'm like,
hey, look
that's a weird song. Their song about bowling?
on that note, there's all kinds of stuff that you think you understand the lyrics to when you're a kid that
Right.
it's nowhere close. But I still think they're better lyrics than what they actually were singing.
Yeah, there are yeah, no, we won't go through all that right now, but
Like Billie Jean, I thought it was Billie Jean. We said the child is not my son. I thought it was something the chalice of my son.
yeah, just call me Angel in the morning, Angel. Just brush my teeth before you leave me, baby. My
Yeah.
voice, I would have sang that, but my voice sucks either through allergy or medication. I can't tell. But anyway, I got raspy voice again this week, everybody. Sorry about that. So otherwise, I would have tried to do my radio voice,
It's
but
like
just
sexy though, sexy raspy.
like Deborah Winger sexy or like I'd rather
Um,
I'd rather be like growly sexy
maybe
than
like Joey's agent from Friends sexy.
oh, Jesus. I don't know who that is. So there you go.
I do need to watch that.
I have seen 3 episodes, I think, of that ever. Um, all right. So, Russ, there's a lot to talk about.
There is.
Before we get into it, I want to show you a video. Hopefully it works. Been having a rough time lately with all this AI shit trying to jump in and all these updates that completely changed my software interface. And I don't know what the fuck's going on. Zoom's one of the worst.
Yeah.
The controls seem to change every time they update it, and it's just like fuck. And then this laptop, I've already bitched about it, but I think we're gonna go back to the old laptop for this production. Yeah, you hearing me, laptop? Am I hurting your feelings? Good, because I spent like 3 grand on you, you bitch. Um, anyway, I even cleaned it the other day, like pulled everything off, cleaned the motors and the fans and everything like that.
Yeah, maybe didn't
Jeez.
like that.
No, I mean it's actually running not as loud, so it was a good thing to do. It was getting hot. Um, might be time for a new one. I've had this thing for almost 2 years, so maybe it's time for a new one again. That's about my
Well,
2 to 3 years. That's about my limit.
I got a desktop that's about a year-ish, just over a year old, but when I bought it, that was the first new computer I had in 13 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, see, for
But
me, if it works, then I don't need to
yeah, I
change it out.
mean, if you're not doing the high end stuff that I'm doing with the graphics and the videos and my photography and yeah, if you get like 2 or 3 Adobe programs open at the same time, that'll kill just about any high end computer too. Even mine will slow down. But let me see if I get this video playing for you here.
All
So
right.
I'll describe it. I'm going to make sure I can get it playing before I dedicate my life to this video.
After the 2025 federal election, the NDP.
Good. Okay, so this is the new Democratic Party meeting of Canada. Have you seen any of this?
I read about it.
Okay, this is amazing. And this is kind of long. This is a little over 2 minutes, but it's worth it. It is
Yeah, if
fucking worth
I've
it.
read about it. Yeah, if it's what I've read about, then yeah, it's
I'm sure. So,
hysterical.
and just check out the first the oh my God, I'm not even. I'll just please, hey folks, go over to YouTube, and if nothing else, here's what you can do: pull up the YouTube video on a window on your laptop or your iPad or whatever. Play this, and if you don't really want to watch us for another hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever the fuck we're gonna do, just let it roll with mute. and we'll get credit for you watching the video. That's a way to help us cheat. I do it all the time. So I know what we said. I don't need to hear it. Although I was listening to last week's on my errands today. It's always kind of good to know what we said last week so I don't completely repeat myself. But,
had been
right,
reduced to single-digit seats in the House of Commons, lost official party status, and entered 2026 battered, broke, and polling in the low single digits. By the time delegates arrived in Winnipeg, this wasn't just a routine leadership handoff. It was a political triage session.
We can fire up our base and build a bigger coalition. We do it by fighting for the big wins that would truly change everyday people's lives. It doesn't mean we can win them tomorrow, but I'll tell you what it does do. It brings in new organizers from communities already in the struggle.
What people saw.
I will invite delegates to assist me in better using the card by forming a
All right, what is that right there?
That's the kid. That's Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Oh, how dare you? Ralphie's cute. This looked like somebody RAPED'd a albino fruit bat. God, this is a scary human being.
No, I reckon that's Bat Boy from the Weekly World News.
Thank you. That is right. Good call. Good deep pull there. What is this? I'm sorry. I know people's appearances and everything. God, looks in our hearts, not our face, I guess, but I'm not God. I'm a man who was born attractive. So I'm going to really call this shit out. Holy God, what is this? Albino fruit bat. Actually, fruit bats are kind of cute. It'd be more like a vampire bat. All right, here we go.
straight line behind the microphone. With a prominently displayed equity card, if I see speakers ahead of you who are not holding a card prominently, it would be wrong of me to guess about their gender identity, and I will come to you.
The clip.
This is what a political party needs.
What's going on here? This is happening on Earth, everybody. This isn't made up. Okay, here we go.
That escaped Winnipeg told a very different story. Rather than polished speeches about affordability or a tightly controlled convention message, what started circulating online were convention floor disputes over equity cards, speaking order, identity categories, and procedural hierarchy.
I will explain the speaking order, which is fixed, that I cannot amend, which is the pro-con rotation. You can move yourself up a line that you're standing in.
I am pro, and I was...
We went...
You went pro, con,
We went pro-con, pro, and my plan was to go con. The speaker at Con Mic 3 also has a speaking card.
One viral exchange involved a delegate holding up a green gender equity card, only for another delegate to counter with a pink race equity card, and
So they're playing identity politics poker, and supposedly and we're not done with this video quite yet, and supposedly the whole platform that these people exist on is equity. But yet they're demonstrating a hierarchy, which they tend to hate in other groups. And people like you and me and Jordan Peterson realize that hierarchies are absolutely essential for culture and societies to function. They're against hierarchies, but here they're even saying hierarchy.
Yeah, but I want to bring up something real quick. See, as we were talking off the air about this, I can't write characters this cliched.
No, you
People
can't.
will not believe they exist.
No, nobody can.
But you need to watch this stuff because the people exist.
If this was a movie, I'd go, come on. Suspension of disbelief only goes so far.
Yeah.
This is like characters in that what was the Fifth Element. That's what these people look like to me. Like all the
I think that
aliens.
this was a comedy troupe doing this to us for satire.
It feels like it, but this is actually serious shit, folks. Okay, here we go.
argue that cards for people identifying as black women, quote, have no value outside of this space. Another clip showed a delegate being applauded for an anti-war speech about Iran, only for the room's attention to swing towards a correction over misgendering the speaker chair, who identified as non-binary.
Your point's quite well made, Speaker. I'll again thank delegates not to call me Madam Chair or Madame la Présidente. I'm a non-binary person. My pronouns are they, them, and their. Chair is sufficient.
I hate these people. I honestly hate these fucking people. You've ruined every piece of joy and everything that there is in life. That's what you're trying to do. You're miserable, disgusting, decadent people. And you know, that guy that I got in a fight with months ago that I considered friend back in day going, transgender people make the world a better place. Really? Really?
That's not a better place. That's people that stick so far up their ass they're tasting wood.
Dude, this is why I don't call me a phobe. What's the word for can't stand to put on the back heart of trans? I mean, it's just the most it's not I've come to believe it's just not just narcissistic, Russ. I think there's an element of evil to it. I mean, there are 5-year-old children who grasp reason and logic far better than these fucking adults do. Seriously.
See, that's the thing. I don't think
But
these people never grew up. They want to live in a fantasy land because the real world is too hard.
it's really not though. The real world's fun. I mean, yeah,
But to them, it is too hard.
I'm having a manure pile of a day today. You know that. I talked to you off camera about what's been going on. And
Hmm.
that was just a small piece of what's been going on, what I told you. It was everything. But it's like, I'm not sitting here saying anything remotely like that. It's a day. I had a bad day. Tomorrow I probably won't. Unfortunately, I got 10 things on my list I didn't get to today because of other things that intervened. Okay. Welcome to the universe. But these people, you know, one of the things about the left, and I was going to talk about this a little in our next segment, but I can kind of use it now as a slight transition is the reason the left is like this is because they don't have gravity. They don't experience gravity like the rest of us. They don't experience resistance. They don't do any resistance training in the mind or in the heart or in the soul. There's no resistance training. And so they don't have, I know grit is an overused term from a few years ago, but really being in the left, when you choose to be in the left, and I hope our F-tard from our new friend, the lefty F-tard that joined the Two Grumpy Bastards page, listens to this podcast because I'm talking to fucking you worthless fucking nothing of a human being. You encounter no resistance in life. That's how you end up like this. Or you encounter the slight bit of resistance and you don't think that's fair. Um, watching
Yeah,
watching
but
some of
they've
the
never
videos.
had they've been coddled and they've never had to overcome it on their own.
I don't understand, dude. I mean, I'm not saying every habit I picked up from the way I was raised is a good habit. I mean, once my temper goes, it's a horrible thing. It can be. It can also be very useful, but if not controlled and used in a positive direction, it's very destructive. I don't like that, and that comes from a lot of that. But there are so many good things: work ethic and grit and determination. And a lot of people would have. Can you imagine these people even having what I described to you today happen to them in a day? They would be in a ball on the floor
Yeah, they've
crying,
been in a fetal position, crying.
and they would be well. Not only that, but they'd be like this and putting it out there on TikTok. And I just don't understand it. It's a white man's fault. It's a white person. It's a white man's fault. Seriously, that's what would happen. They would tell the whole world about their day, and I'd be sitting there like eating my soup with my third-degree burn and a hip that doesn't work and my back completely locked up and having to pay a $3,000 bill to a lawyer for something and having my car break down. And I'd be like, and then thinking about everything I've been through in my life, and I go like this.
That's
And for those of you not watching the video, I'm just staring straight ahead and not moving
a thousand
because
yard stare.
1,000 yard stare. Because that's one of the reasons I despise lefties. And you know, it just we were talking last week about providence and the right person at the right place at the right time, and how all those people in every one of those people that we talked about, there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of consequences for doing the right thing or doing what they believed was the right thing, taking that hard right, as the cliche says, instead of
Yeah,
the easy left. I don't think any of those people understand what that even means, and I can't be
no.
around those people. I know a lot of people that grew up comfortably, far more comfortably than I did, but it doesn't mean that they chose to pursue. I, I
They
know
probably weren't
nothing.
indulged. It's
They,
one
they
thing
weren't
to
indulged.
have.
I mean,
Yeah,
your family probably was financially better off than mine, and you sure as fuck didn't grow up on a farm and
no.
have to get up. And I'm not saying that as judgment. I'm just saying, you didn't have like the same amount. of things, not amount, but I did different things than you did growing up. I
Yeah.
chose to put myself in harm's way by getting into fights and playing football and boxing, all this stuff. But you chose to go in the army and be a fucking ranger. There was something in you that wanted to, and I did. If it was hard, I tried to do it. I did it. I thought this is really hard. A lot of people are like, what the fuck? You know, getting two majors, carrying 23 credits every semester while I was an athlete, while I was in ROTC, doing all that stuff and getting A's, It's like, how the fuck do you do it? I'm like, I don't know, but it feels good. You know, it feels good
Well,
because I'm tired and I'm always tired, but I'm tired for a good reason because I feel that sense of accomplishment.
yeah. Well, see, I remember I used to play. I know you think it's a communist sport, but I used to play soccer when I was younger. But I was also short, small, and scrawny, and so I remember, on Saturday afternoons, my dad would strap leg weights to my ankles and tell me to go bike around the neighborhood for the next 2 hours. And it sucked, but I learned how to
Yeah.
do it, and I learned how to persevere through it. That was one of the things that got me through was I mean he didn't pull any punches on this. Like, here, wear these ankle weights. All right, we got some hills in the neighborhood. Go bike around that stuff. You can come back in when the sun goes down.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I was doing things like mowing an acre and a half of lawn with a push mower and dropping it on my foot and breaking every bone.
Oh
So that
God,
was I described that last week, but
yeah.
or I think I did. Um, but oh no, I didn't. I just hinted at it. But I got a new pair of boots and I had to tell the girl why my right foot was a lot bigger than my left. And I told her the story. And then there was a couple people like it was funny, all the employees were coming around listening to my story like, really? And they're all like 20 years old. They're all Gen Zers. And, the worst thing that happened to them the other day was their paper straw at Starbucks got soggy. So they had to take a sip out of the actual cup.
Mm,
That was their resistance training. But
tragic.
seriously, the left is about not doing resistance training. And that's why they drift. And I think that's why we talked about it last week. I was reviewing the podcast. We talked a lot about how the Democratic Party that we knew when we were younger and that when we were getting involved in politics or at least thinking about politics a lot for, the first time in developing our adult ideas about it, why they've drifted so far. The Democrats that I knew growing up, they weren't pussies. They
Yeah.
no, they were salt of the earth. A lot of them were loggers and longshoresmen and people that grew up with that idea of the blue collar and the Democrat is the party of blue collar man and
Working man.
working man, which has all been completely reversed
Well,
now. But
because the weirdos were marginalized by pretty much everybody back then,
and as
and
well,
they
it should be again.
it kind of like Hydra. They grew like a parasite inside. They found a party to grow like a parasite inside of, and they drove all the salt of the earth people out. Now there are still people who believe that the Democratic Party is the working man's party, but almost to a man.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But almost to a man, they're over the age of 60. They're all
Yes.
baby boomers that remember what the Democrats used to be like, and they refuse to accept what they have become. I don't know if you were aware of this, but they've done some focus groups in the last couple of months, where they've presented current Democratic Party positions to focus groups. The groups won't believe them. The groups say that's not true because they're so out there. That's one of the things that's keeping the Democrats hanging on is
Yes.
because there are large groups of people who simply do not believe how out of how wacky they have become.
That's an excellent point. If you look at some of these guerrilla style young journalists, these Gen Zers who love to go to protests and get people to talk to them, um,
Hmm.
I enjoy it. I really do. And some of
Yeah,
these
I
some of
can't
these
remember the name of the one girl I really like. Um,
I'm sure it's this. I'm sure there's a couple, but I'm sure I've seen it. Yeah,
oh, I know you have. She's famous for it.
she's pretty fearless. Attractive blonde, young blonde young lady. Is that
Well, I don't
who?
know if she's blonde. She's got like curly hair. She was kind of curly. She was on Tom McDonald's uh Can't Cancel All of Us video.
Oh, okay. I may not be who I'm thinking of, but yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah.
I love that young lady who was talking about how nice it is for women to get married and have children, and then The View went after her. Have you seen that one?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
yeah. And she's cool. I like her. She kind of reminds me of what's her name, Riley Gaines, a little bit with her
Yeah,
attitude and her
a
spunk and
lot.
all that. Yeah, she kind of reminds me of that, and she actually kind of looks like Carolyn Levitt, actually, a little bit. I can't remember her name, but she's good. She's gonna have. I think she's gonna have a good career ahead of her in the new journalism business or whatever they're calling it these days. It's the new wave. New wave. That's not the term because new wave is when you and I were coming up as kids.
Caitlin Bennett is the
Yeah,
girl I was thinking of.
Caitlin Ben. I know who that is. Yep, 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 yep. And
Yeah,
and
she is kind of blonde, but she's got it's not curly hair, it's like wavy hair.
no, I that wasn't the one I was speaking of. So there's one girl who does a really, I call her a girl, young woman, young lady who does a really good job because she kind of puts on a fake affect, like she's dumb. Like, so what do you
Yeah,
think about? And then people think
I've
she's
seen
dumb
her
for,
too.
yeah, she's great. She's actually whip smart, but she does that thing where there's four syllables now to no.
That's that's not the same girl that does the point counterpoint where in one side she's got purple hair, and she turns back to her blonde self. Have you seen
I
that?
don't I have seen that. I don't know if that's her or not. I This one is
Okay.
like a reporter on the street. She's like a young version of Brandy Cruz, the way Brandy Cruz used to do business back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, Brandy Cruz is killing it right now. I'm a big fan of Brandy Cruz up here in Washington State. She's one of
She
the
got a lot of
funniest
stuff to go
things.
over in Washington State.
Huh?
She got a lot of stuff to go after in Washington State.
We're I don't know that I don't know that we're not worse in California now. Newsom has
Yeah.
been kind of neutered lately, and he's kind of lost favor. And um, they're actually the governor candidates. The Republicans are polling higher than any of the Democrats right now, which is kind of
Well, the
funny,
funny, just as a real quick aside, since they have the jungle primary in June,
right?
where the top two candidates event, the funniest thing in the world would be if those top two Republican candidates pulled the most votes, even at 15 and 17%, and you got two Republicans running against each other. Can you imagine? The Democrats would try to change the rules
They
instantly.
they would absolutely try to change the rules. They'd be trying to vote for change the state constitution or something like. Yeah, it would be great. It'd be great to watch.
Yeah, it
It'd
would
be
be
great to watch.
awesome.
Um, Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about some of those things. Maybe we can go back and forth, but some of the things that I've been seeing lately really got me thinking because we have I don't even know who this person is. They're kind of anonymous on our that joined our happy little club over at Two Grumpy Bastards podcast Facebook page. Um, and somebody that brings all of the talking points and no empirical facts. I like that thing that he tried to put out about the history of Iran, and maybe you guys can learn something from this. And it had nothing to do with anything. It was like, yeah, we get it. We're talking about from '79 until now,
Yeah,
because none of this stuff matters. All that history between it doesn't matter because there was literally it wasn't a change in history. It was a schism
it was a
when the
complete
mullah took
cutoff. Yeah,
took control. All that history is basically erased since the Ayatollah came in power in '79 and all that. It's a completely different universe. Um, and I still don't understand how people don't know we haven't been at war with Iran and proxy wars and other ways since
47
1979.
years. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not Israel's war and it's not Trump's war. It's Trump is the first president to have the fucking balls to do what's right. And as I tried to tell somebody recently, you know that whole thing about Venezuela? Do you know that was part of this, right? He doesn't do anything in a vacuum. These are all chess moves. Oil, Venezuela, all. I mean, you
Well, and a
gotta.
lot of the chess, even Iran, even though it's important to go after the nuclear weapons and their ballistic missile capability, that's part of a bigger chessboard against China.
Yeah,
You know, cutting them off from the Venezuelan oil, restricting the flow of Iranian oil, letting
mm-hmm.
China know that if they try to go after Taiwan, don't have any idea how Trump is going to respond. And unpredictability on the world stage from the leader of the world's greatest superpower isn't a bad thing because you have to wonder what would he do if they did something out of line. And it also helps that all the Chinese and Russian equipment is being seriously outclassed.
Absolutely. And people that don't realize that kind of the same thing. If you don't think China's been in a cold war with us on the technology front and a lot of and buying all the land next to military bases and buying all the ranch land and all this other stuff. I love that Swalwell's nervous about Kash Patel going after the files of him and
That
Fang Fang.
that's funny because he was one of the loudest voices saying release all these Epstein files, but now
Right.
suddenly he doesn't want files released.
For those of you who don't know that are that he's running for governor, Swalwell, how is he even still in Congress? How did he not get censured and booted out? I would not
Uh,
want a Republican who was sleeping or having a relationship for 10 fucking years with a Chinese spy
hmm
sharing a bed, and he shared a lot more than that. His little
She must give
weenus,
one hell of a
his
blowjob.
little weenus was the smallest thing by far that he shared with her, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
that she was working him, and he was a
Well,
mark. And how
if
is he
he'd been
still in
halfway
Congress?
intelligent, he would have been like, "Why is this beautiful woman suddenly attracted to me?"
Right. How did I outkick my coverage this far? Dudes that outkick their coverage don't know it. You know what? It's way off topic, but I was thinking about this when I had I do that happy birthday thing on Facebook. I try to be nice. It's one of my little things I do to say
Yeah, I do the
happy birthday.
same. I do it too.
Yeah, yeah. It just makes me feel a little bit better, reach because people do it for me and it's nice. And I try to write something original, not just press on what they already wrote for me, what Facebook wrote for me. I'll actually write a few words in there
I'll
to
say
let them
something in a
know
second about that.
to let them know that I'm not just firing off the same fucking happy birthday with the balloon icon and shit. And I was thinking about that because everybody's like, "Who's this?" And you'll go and I'll go, "Is this somebody I actually really know?" Because I want to make it a little more personal. And it's like, okay, it's a realtor that lives in so it's because I'll be looking to buy a house here in the next year or so, and networking and stuff, and probably never met this person in my life, or somebody that liked my art or whatever. And you'll go and go, oh, okay, that's a picture of her and her husband, and you go, whoa. And then just out of curiosity, I'll start clicking through the profile photos, and their husband's face is shoved aggressively, like in every photo.
hmm
And that's a guy who knows they've outkicked their coverage and is very insecure.
Yeah.
You know it. You know it. If you're in every photo, I mean, and wouldn't a woman go, yeah, can I take a photo by myself? Fucking, you goddamn leech. But that's how you know. That's how you know. They know that you outkicked their coverage. They're doing
Yeah,
everything
real
they
quick on
can.
the happy birthday thing on Facebook. If I see it, I will usually wish people a happy birthday. I just now I will use the things that Facebook gives me.
Right.
It's not much effort, but it's a nice thing to let
It's
people know
better
that
than
you
nothing.
remembered
It's
the
better than
birthday.
nothing.
Yeah.
It makes people feel
The
good.
the people who get personalized messages from me are the ones I feel I'm closer to. I've sent you a couple of things.
Yeah, yeah, you have.
Um, so there's a couple of folks on there who get more personalized messages, but to be honest, not many.
Yeah, no, I do. My one for my friends that I like to use is way to ride the planet around the sun again, like a bitch or something like that. I like to
Well, the
make
couple
fun of the
that
fact that birthdays really aren't that big of a deal. It's when your mother shot you out of her fetus cannon. Really had nothing to do with you.
well, the two I like to use is the Richard Simmons picture where he's screaming, saying, "Oh my God, it's your birthday."
You did that one for
Um,
me once.
yeah, and I like the picture of Will Ferrell from where he's wearing nothing, but he's got a basketball in front of his privates.
Right.
And then the one with the clown from It, being like, "Happy birthday, bitch."
Hi, buddy. Coonhound
I like
decided
I
to
like
come
using
upstairs.
I like using those just mostly to get a reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's all good. And
But yeah,
like I said,
Swalwell really outkicked his coverage. Now a smart person would have understood that, but he's too egotistical, and he really thinks that he deserves it.
well, he's a narcissist like so many people on the left are. I mean, he goes to the gym now, bro. Do you remember that one video he put up of himself
Yeah.
sitting on the bench press? I guarantee he probably went into the locker room,
Oh,
splashed
I'm
some water.
sure.
Yeah,
That's exactly what he went to the water fountain and spritz water on himself.
fuck yeah. That guy, I could take him with. I don't have butt hair because I manscape, but I could take him with theoretical butt hairs.
That's more info than I needed.
Yeah, I know, but that'll get somebody to laugh out there in Podland, I guarantee you. Um, the kind of cruising along this, we've kind of hit on this topic that we talked about having a conversation back and forth about, but having the ammo to fight the left. Now, it can be really frustrating because they're not going to accept what you say as fact. They're not going to do it. It's like you're saying, like the Democrats over 60, you tell them what's really going on or what somebody voted on or what AOC said, and they go, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's cognitive dissonance. They can't put that together with a party that they grew up in, with their
Yeah.
dad going off. Well, my dad went off to the factory every morning. Listen to that whistle blow. Two, three, four. That was my Springsteen impression, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, the I used to love that guy too.
Shriveled old prune.
Fuck that guy. Um, I can't tell the difference between him and Melissa Etheridge anymore, man.
No, I know.
That's funny right there. But I think it's important to kind of have like a playbook when you do go up against these people. And one of the things I got a few facts. I thought maybe we could go back and forth. I got a few points I want to make.
Okay.
Is how to fight the libtards. How do you fight them? Well, first thing you got to do is go. You're never going to win an argument against them, no matter how much you win the argument against them, because they're never going to accept your facts as facts. They're not. And they will come back with their feelings every single time,
Yep.
or they'll come up with like a lie, or their favorite one for the last several months has been, "Oh, you mean the orange pedophile?" And when you say prove it, they'll and you've made this point too. I've seen you make I make this point all the time. They'll say, and when you say, "What's your proof?" Showing your proof, or shut up. Shut up. Don't say
Hmm.
it. Because I don't say things about politicians unless I'm purposely using hyperbole to illustrate something, or I'm making satire.
Hmm.
And I will admit to it when I am. Do I really think Joe Biden shit his pants every time he was up behind a microphone? No, not every time. Can I prove he ever shit his pants? I can't prove it because I wasn't there, but you can kind of see that feeling, that look on his face. Well, it's like, and then that tensing, and then that release of the facial structure. You can kind of, and then the confusion. I remember uh, Adam Ray, who's one of my favorite comedians, the guy from he did the when he and Shane Gillis did the Trump and Biden thing on
Oh
Kill
yeah,
Tony.
on Kill Tony. Yep.
Oh, it was one of the funniest things. And he's like, "Hey, who's shitting my pants?" For those of you that don't watch Kill Tony, and I religiously watch it. Some of them are better than others, but go back and do the Shane Gillis, Adam Ray, Trump, and Joe Biden. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the history of comedy. It is wonderful, and they're both great. Shane Gillis does a wonderful Trump. He's
Oh
fantastic.
yeah, he's right on. He's on point.
He does the best Trump of anybody, I think. But anyway, no, I don't know that that's true. Obviously, that's tongue in cheek. He looks like it. I think he probably has shit his pants. It just depends. Um, a couple of times he certainly looks like it. He's certainly senile, even though that one dude told me that no, he just acts like an ordinary old man. No, I know a lot of
No.
old guys. I know 90-year-olds that are far, far sharper than that guy, and that's absolutely true. That's not hyperbole at
William
all.
Shatner doesn't act like that. He's 95 years old.
My God, the guy's sharper than ever. Um,
Yep.
but that's the thing that you got to take into account is don't get frustrated because everything you say follows the laws of critical thinking, and we need to come back to the whole critical thinking thing before we're done with this conversation. But I'll turn it over to you. That's one of my main things is you're never going to win an argument against these idiots because they're narcissists, and you can't convince a narcissist they're wrong. You can't.
Well, there's three things I always keep in mind. First of all, when I'm engaging somebody, who is my audience? Is the person I'm engaging my audience? Sometimes, but a lot of the times the audience are the people that are going to read this conversation. It's not even the person I'm engaging.
Right.
So that's number one, remember the audience.
Right.
Number two, turn their feelings back on them. That's what I'll do a lot. They'll be like, Iran wasn't a threat, and I'll be like, well, do you not have a problem with with them raping virgin women that are in jail so they can't go to heaven? Like, but that's not why we went there. It's like, yeah, well, the Russians didn't have greatest intention when they liberated Auschwitz. I'm not sure the Jews cared. You turn their feelings and their empathy back on them, and because you're not going to win on the facts and stuff. You
Right.
can bring that stuff out, but you try to get them to do some introspection when you bring that stuff out. And the third thing, um, depending on where it goes, is you just flat mock them. You just show that you're not going to get upset, and you mock them based on their level of stupid. I've done everything from baby talk to just, I had somebody who's a lawyer on another page, try and just all he came back with was well, you just can't argue with stupid. And I was like, well, that was certainly substantive. I mean, all zero of your points were obviously well thought out, as evidenced by the nothing you brought to the table. How are you not on the Supreme Court? Do you do stuff because what you do is you twist that dagger just a little bit, and you send them off the rails even further until they become an incoherent, spluttering mess.
Hmm.
One of the one of the basic parts of the argument is if you can get somebody to go completely into that emotional zone, then they turn into a blithering idiot. And when they get that far, the folks who are reading the conversation that are not completely ensconced in the bubble will see that, and it can make an impression on people. Um, One guy that I wrote today, because he, for some reason, and you folks out there in podcast land, I don't know what you are thinking when you engage with me on another page, and for some reason you think, hey, that was so much fun, I need more of that. And you send me a friend request. People who've sent me these, they'll tell you I send them a written warning about what I'm like, and they think that they can handle it anyway. So anyway, I'm on this other guy's page, and he's modestly reasonable. We don't see eye to eye. I think there's some some TDS issues going on, but he can be reasonable to engage with.
Sure.
But some of his more left-leaning friends are the ones that turn into the screeching harpies. And I sent him a DM today. I said, "You watch. Within the next month, you're going to start to get DMs asking who I am and why I'm on your page. And then shortly thereafter, some of your so-called friends will tell you that if you don't get rid of me, they're going to leave." So he's like, "No, that they don't care that much." It's like, no, I'm speaking from experience.
Hmm.
I've seen it happen over and over. You're going to see exactly how close your friends are. I've got another. I got another person that's on my Facebook page that's was a former soldier of mine. Really good guy. Can be a little bit, can be a little bit crazy sometimes, but to be fair, he was an infantry guy, and infantry guys are, kind of crazy.
Hmm.
Um, his he got married to a wonderful woman, but she was fairly left leaning when they got together, and he's been slowly red pilling her over the last few years to where she's kind of come around to his way of thinking on a lot of stuff. But she
Interesting.
has to be careful with it because she recognizes that she can get canceled by the people she serves because the business that she runs mostly caters to, the left-leaning progressives. And if
What
she
is it?
acknowledge
What is it? A cock business like fake cocks for?
no, but if
I'm just
you know,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
she does recognize that if she espouses too much of what she now thinks, they will abandon her.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean, I know people like that too, and I got to respect that to a certain extent. Absolutely.
yeah, so you what you do is you bring over the people that you get. There are people that are a lost cause. What
Right.
you do is you expose them so the people who are persuadable can see what they really are. You're not
Right.
gonna you can slowly bring somebody over with the facts and logic and reason, but it's hard to make a big leap. But you can get the big leap if they can see what the other side is like. If they can see how they turn on their own humanity, it
Right.
suddenly creates an aha moment where they're like, "Oh my gosh, are they really like that? Was that really what I was like?" And for the more introspective, it can actually that's what can create a big leap as opposed to just, slow red pilling.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's valuable. I think that's valuable. It's also um in any, and I'm not going to give a critical thinking 101 class here. That might be for another podcast. It might be interesting, but we can go through, denying the antecedent and the difference between a straw man and a red herring and all this other stuff. One of the they I have almost never seen somebody from the left not use at least one or two incredible logical fallacies when trying to argue with me. Usually it's a false equivalent. Like they'll
Yeah.
compare two things and they have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. And those are very easy to spot because like I didn't say that everybody in the Democratic Party ate dick. I didn't say that. I kind of because I don't think the women in the Democratic Party do at all. Ha! See, that was hyperbole, everybody. Um, Hyperbole is a what should I say intention to stretch the truth to a grotesque degree. It is a willful, I guess, stretching of the truth to a grotesque degree. Has a kernel of truth to it, but you blow it up into something that isn't, and it creates a false equivalency. That's hyperbole actually is a false equivalency.
Hmm.
Um, like they talk about, the old saying, well, that's comparing apples to hand grenades. Used to be apples and oranges. Apples and hand grenades, yeah, they're about the same size, but that would be a false equivalency.
Yeah. I
One
say
goes,
apples and plexiglass.
yeah, yeah, that's even worse. Um, the and it kind of goes to the thing is you're never going to go wrong if you stick to the facts. And I know the new way of saying I have proof is saying bring your receipts. Bring your fucking receipts. Don't necessarily throw your receipts out there though. Stick to the
Oh yeah.
facts. And
No. Hold on to them like poker, like they're, like
absolutely.
their poker hand.
Absolutely. Hold on to them. And when you need to throw them out, somebody on a friend from high school's page said some stupid shit. And I'm going, how Iran is going terribly. We're losing the war, doing all this stuff. And I'm like, by what metric are you possibly? And I tried to warn him by saying something that was actually something an intelligent person would say. By
Hmm.
what possible metric could you be making this statement? That
Hmm.
right there tells you you're dealing with somebody that actually probably has a skill set in some type of logic or discourse. I throw that out there. Maybe that'll go ping, ping, ping. This guy's probably pretty smart. And in the next sentence, I go, I didn't say that the war was going bad. I said the situation. I said, no, you didn't. You were purposely ambiguous. And when people are purposely ambiguous, they do it for one reason. So they're not wrong or right. And so people can't pin them down to a specific point. That was my second deal. That again should have even told him, okay, this guy's even smarter than he came across the first time. So the third time I go, okay, I hate doing this, but here's my receipt. So I listed my education and I listed the amount of time I was in the army and some of the jobs I had in the army. So I think
Hmm.
and military history, all that kind of stuff. So I think I may have in this one subject matter, I may have a little more expertise than you. I probably know what I'm talking about. Um, have your receipts, and I do have, as you know, I do research on stuff. I do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. This was another one of my points I wrote down, but this is why you got to get away from this people on the right. You got to get away from using memes as a way of conducting an argument or a defense. Or memes are great. I like memes. Memes are funny. I write a lot of memes myself. I just put one on the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast that I put together in like 2 minutes. No kings, no brains.
Yeah.
And it showed the revolutionary soldiers on the no kings, and it showed the protesters at a no kings rally on the no brains side. Funny, to the point, actually true, but people will throw up memes. There's the one going around right now that shows Donald Trump sitting around with very young women and his hands and his arms around them. Even one time, this very pretty young woman is sitting on his lap, and all the left is throwing these things around, going, see, see. Do you realize that's his daughter Ivanka when she was like 8 to 10 years old?
Hmm.
These were family photos. There was nothing grotesque about it. Of course, you're an 8. Your daughter's going to sit on daddy's lap and they're laughing and they're having a good time. That's his daughter. Daughter. There was nothing
Yeah.
provocative or even slightly over the top. But oh no, see, fuck you. 5 minutes of
Yeah.
research.
Well, see, that's the thing. I do research. Now, I don't necessarily do hours and hours of research, but I do enough. And one of the more frustrating things with me with dealing with people, and it's not just confined to the left, but there's a lot of it on the left, is first of all, when something confirms a narrative that you already want to believe,
Uh
that's when
huh.
your antenna should quiver. That's when
Right.
you should say, "All right, let me double check this," because I can tell you the moment that that first happened for me, and it was back in the year 2000. I was in Korea, and I remember getting one of these, emails that were going around groups saying, there's a representative in Congress. I don't even remember the made up name they had that was going to start charging people like 3 cents for an email, just like a postage stamp and all this other stuff. And like a dumbass, because I glommed onto it real quick, I wrote my congressional representative, just bitching up a storm about this, um, and she wrote back with the facts of this is made up. There's no such representative that exists. It's not on the record. And I felt like a moron. And it was a wake up call to me that okay, maybe I need to look into things a little bit more deeply before
Right.
just reacting.
Right.
Um, and so many of these folks, if they would just do, like you said, 5 minutes of research, then they would at least be able to know whether or not they're on the right track.
Right.
Just as a real quick, I don't know if we're gonna talk about this later, but just real quick, the birthright citizenship case that's in front of the Supreme Court. So people have brought up the Wong Kim Ark case from 1898, and the the problem is they've heard Wong Kim Ark, they think it supports their argument, so they just throw it out there, but they haven't actually researched the case.
Right.
What I mean by that is the case with Wong Kim Ark involved his parents were given legal domicile in the United States. In other words, they were legal immigrants to the United States, given permanent residency status by the United States. They weren't here illegally. And then Wong Kim Ark left the country and tried to come back, and that's why they tried to deny him under the Chinese Exclusion Act. But because his parents were here legally, that's why he was subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They try to apply that to folks who are here illegally, and I'm like this is what Wong Kim Ark says. I'm like, no, it really doesn't. That's just one example of many that when you just do 5 minutes, just type it in to Google. I mean, it's so much easier than when you and I were kids and you had to go look at a newspaper article or a microfiche or you had to look at
Right.
the encyclopedia. 5 minutes, Google it, see what comes up. If it matches, I've done that a lot where I'll see something, I'll be like, I don't. That's yeah, dang right. That's the way we need to put it. And then I'll stop and I'll say, let me look at this. That's why on a lot of stuff I won't comment because if it's either not true or I don't know it, I won't comment. Now, does that mean
Right.
I'm 100% perfect?
Right.
No, I've made mistakes, but I'm more often right than I'm not.
Right.
And you mentioned arguing on facts. The reason I'm so confident in debates is because I do know my facts. They've led me. I know the facts. I've done the analysis on the facts. They've led me to conclusions.
Right.
That's why I'm so confident on debates. If you lead a debate with nothing but emotion, though, it falls apart when you actually encounter facts. It's one of the reasons why my oldest daughter's school taught apologetics because she went to a private Christian school. And it's one of the reasons why when I'm talking to my youngest now about politics, I will bring up counterfacts to what she's saying. And I do that so that when they encounter counter arguments outside of our household, whether it's counter arguments against God or counter arguments against politics, it doesn't shatter their worldview immediately. They've had to think about it already. And it gets in the mindset of thinking things through uh, so that so that when you do find somebody who gives you something that's maybe true or maybe bullshit, you don't shrink into a ball. I mean, I don't accept at face value what anybody tells me. So when they say, "Well, that's wrong," and here's why, I say, "Okay, that's great. I will now go. I know you're biased. You might be right, but let me go research this on my own and see if it matches up." Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's frustrating for me. It's one of the reasons I do not like the human race is because it will react rather than think. And you know me, I'm all about balance. I believe that we should balance our reason and emotion. But unfortunately, we've gone so far out of balance with the emotion that when I come in with reason, I look like a robot. So, if it was a completely cold, Spock-like world, I'm sure I'd look like, a touchy-feely guy.
Right.
But you got to balance this stuff out, and so many people refuse to do that because they won't do the research because it does cause cognitive dissonance. When you encounter something that goes against your worldview but makes sense, it does create a buzzing in your brain. It's one of those where you're like, oh, what's going on? And you
Hmm.
have to then spend time thinking about it. And if you're intellectually honest and you encounter something that makes sense and is supportable but goes against your worldview, you'll change. Um, just as a real quick example, then I'll shut up, is when I was in high school, people told me when you get to college you'll become more liberal, Russell. You will you'll open your mind. Well, when I got to college, I became more conservative because I learned more facts that skewed me more conservative. I was actually compared to what I am now, a lot more liberal in high school. Now I was still more conservative than my peers, but as I got more facts, as I got more context, I became more right wing as a result because I actually had to think through some of these things.
Yeah.
And I think that's lacking in a lot of people. They don't want to upset their worldview. And it's why people will, because a lot of people, especially on the left, if you challenge their worldview, you think they're challenging. They think you're challenging them as a person. You're challenging their morality,
Right.
and they can't handle that. They don't understand. No, we're not challenging you as a person. We're challenging your facts. And if you were intellectually honest, you'd be open to that.
100%. Yeah. What my experience going to my first undergrad experience, uh, I went to as you know, a private Jesuit school, and there's a big core curriculum in a liberal arts school like that that everybody has to take. Doesn't matter what your major is, and it's still like that at these colleges, but like if you go to a public school, you're pretty much you have to take a couple of core here and there, but it's not like the core you have to take at a school like that. 3 semesters of philosophy, 2 semesters of history, 2 semesters of English, all of that was everybody took that stuff, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there was variation. You could take different classes within those variations, but I loved it. And I took a lot of hard science because of my majors, and it was really wonderful to be able to step outside that and go, "This is nice, easy, eh?" But looking back on it, I remember an English teacher going, "Yeah, you're really good at this in a creative writing class. Why do you want to go in the army? You're really good at this." But he was kind of one of the few lefty liberals professors at
Mhm.
that school, and great guy, loved him to death. But he was old-fashioned lefty liberal, not the ones
Yeah,
that you would see today.
not the crazy
Um,
people today. Yeah,
yeah, he wasn't a crazy guy. He just had a little different way of looking at the world than I did, and we loved that. We'd go back and forth on it. You would have liked him because he did not like the movie Bull Durham. I remember that. I
awesome, smart
I
man.
openly attacked him in class over that. um, 100%. And when I took my first philosophy course, which was Philosophy 101, Critical Thinking, where you learn how to map arguments and you learn all the terms and how to do all that, boy, it was like erotica to my fucking left brain because it was just like, oh, now I have a system where all these things I've been thinking that have been disorganized and in pieces, I can all put them
Mhm.
in this thing, this structure. And I realized that I've been doing this stuff anyway because I had parents that were pretty pragmatic. They weren't educated, but they were readers. My mom was
Yeah,
brilliant. My mom could have done anything. She was brilliant. My dad was brilliant in his own way, but they were very pragmatic, very practical people, very logical people. Um, oh my God, my
your
dog.
dog fart.
Yes. And his butt is pointed at me too. Ugh. Okay. What was I saying? Okay, so went to college and I really enjoyed that. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to write like you're in a debate or you have to talk in a debate. I'll give you an example. But I still had my receipt. So I got into it with some dude on some celebrities page. Some minor like celebrities. I don't even know. I can't remember who it was. One of these guys that has an opinion. He's conservative, and he was like, of course, he was using ad hominem attacks and all this stuff. And so I was poking it. I don't usually do it, but I was just like, fuck you, you fucking douche. I see the picture and it's like Gen Z guy who's got kind of the sad look on his face and la
Hmm.
la la la, and I'm like, you fucking pathetic piece of shit. And ding ding, that's what I heard. So I'm Muhammad Ali and you're like the kid that packs groceries down at the fucking right mart. And
You're the glasses kid on the Wonder Years.
yeah, exactly. And so I start taking it easy on him. And his points, of course, he was talking about Trump being a what were some pedophile, of course. That's what they all use now. Which there's 180 degrees from proof on any of that. There's
Yeah,
absolutely no proof.
but it's a
And that's a
fantasy they
really
want to believe.
that's a really weird word to use. I think Eric Swalwell, we could say a lot of very horrible things about him, and all those words would be appropriate. So he's talking about all this stuff, and he's a shyster, and he's a con artist, and it's like he's one of the most successful businessmen in modern American history. La la la. He started out with daddy's money. Who cares that his dad gave him some
He
seed
turned
money?
it into several billion
He turned
dollars.
into $1 billion and employed thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and made people rich. I want
Hmm.
somebody like that in the White House as opposed to, get this, she's far more qualified. She's one of the most qualified candidates, talking about Kamala, candidates there's ever been. Oh, I'm sure you couldn't pass the bar exam. Who the fuck are you talking to? Oh, I don't know. A guy that had 2 majors and was an athlete and an ROTC and was magna cum laude at a very difficult university, or the person that has 3 master's degree and has an A in every single one of those classes, or the one that scored so high in the MCAT that I was the less than 1/2 of 1% that got into medical school. Oh, I don't know. I think the MCAT's probably a little tougher than I lawyers. Most of the lawyers that I know are dunces to a very large extent. It's not like TV. It's not like the chick on
No,
Landman.
I agree.
I mean, she's brilliant and smart and attractive, and she plays a good character, but it's a character. Most lawyers aren't like that. They're not bright people. When I've had to get lawyers, and I've had to get lawyers way more than I'm comfortable with in my life, I'm usually the one feeding them the information. I got all my shit together. I'm organized. Here you go. And they use my information and they're like, oh my God, none of my other clients ever go through all this. Well, this is really important to me. You know,
Yeah, my eyes were opened uh, roughly a decade ago
I'm
because
sorry if we have any attorneys listening. I don't mean every attorney, but I mean as
no,
a
not,
group.
but here's how my eyes were opened on that. We almost, when we bought our house in Kansas, we almost sued the previous homeowners because there were a bunch of things wrong with the house that were not disclosed. Now
Right.
we ended up figuring up that, a year and a half in court wasn't worth what we would have ended up netting after lawyer fees and court costs and everything. But so we engaged with a lawyer who was going to send out a demand letter, and he sent it to me to look at. I'm like, this is a lawyer's demand. I made all kinds of corrections to it to make it sound more lawyerly. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is great. I didn't think about this. I'm like, dude, you get paid to think about this.
No,
I don't.
it's not, they're not incredibly bright people for the most part. And I'm sorry, I don't know. Give me a year of study and not 3 years. I could probably pass any at the bar exam. I'm sure I could. Anyway, I guess that's bragging, but tests are not hard for me. I know how to take tests. I've always been good at that. That's why I had a
Yeah.
14 something on my SAT when I was a freshman. I'm good at tests. It's people are good at different things. I'm good at that. And always have been, except for organic chemistry, like I said last week, but I didn't give a fuck. I'll take a C and get an A and everything else, and my GPA will still be a 3.9 for whatever. But the just to finish off that little anecdote there. So we didn't really go back and forth much because he said that how much more qualified she was because I bet you couldn't pass the bar exam and stuff like that. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I couldn't. So I laid out a little bit of my credentials and my qualifications, and I go, it's amazing that you actually think a day drinking whore who can't put a thought together, much less a sentence, would have been more qualified than a billionaire businessman who actually was the president for 4 years. But that somehow makes her more qualified, and he was successful. Not nearly as successful as this time around, but he was successful in a lot of ways. And then he goes, oh, if you want to be a piece of shit and call her a whore. So now Scrawny Kid is calling me, not only did he call me stupid, now he's calling me a piece of shit. Now, if this wasn't the internet and this was 20 years ago, you know what I would have done to this guy?
Oh
And
yeah.
I would have picked him up by his throat and his balls. I would have. And I'd press him against the wall and I would have choked him and I
I don't
would
know
have
if you
said,
could grab his balls. They were probably
can
too
can
small.
can you say piece of shit now? Can you say it now? Go ahead, say it again. Call me a piece of shit now. So anyway, I didn't get that way because it was like, okay, I won because of this huge opening he gave me here. Huge opening he gave me. And then he goes into, well, it's Melania who was a prostitute for Jeffrey Epstein and was given to Trump as a side.
What?
Yeah. And I go, okay, fantasy boy, stop your magical thinking and go with me for a second. The reason I called Kamala Harris a whore is because she fits the definition of a whore. The only reason she got a job and was put in a position of power is because she was sucking and fucking a married man who was in a position of power. Google Willie Brown. Just Google it. Google both their names. Google it. Google when he had an interview about a year ago where he talked about all of it, about how he was dating Kamala and she was, just kind of
He was three
and
decades younger than him too.
yes, and in not so many words, he was saying that she was the woman that kind of made the rounds in the office, and then he was the guy who was the up and coming power broker. So she stuck
Hmm.
with him for a while. So she was fucking a married man who was a powerful guy. And I go, ooh, yeah, that's not a whore. That's the exact definition of a whore. The exact definition. And oh, by the way, that's the only reason she ever got powered. Feminist icon, right? Ooh, bring that up to a woman who voted for Kamala. Or as I did to a woman who was interested in me and a while back when I go, okay, so you're mad at you say all these things about Donald Trump, but the candidate that you like was married to Bill Clinton and is married to Bill Clinton. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That's what I got. Okay, won that argument. That's what this dumb fuck said. And then he made up some weird fantasy about how Melania was a whore. Yeah, the most beautiful, classy first lady in history who I'm sure has had to put up with a lot of difficult shit, because that's another one of my points is don't shy away from criticism and admit when things aren't things that you like about the person that you support, like you and I do with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Trump makes me very uncomfortable sometimes. Not his policies, but his personality.
His personality, the way he expresses himself sometimes, he says things that, I'll say they're cringy. But the
They're cringy.
problem that we run into from the left is they don't pick and choose their battles on this.
Right.
Everything he says is, oh my God, the worst thing ever. Well, when it's like that, then you're not serious. Look, with some folks, I can have a reasonable discussion about Trump's foibles, okay, and where I
Sure.
disagree with him on. But if you're going to go into he's Satan walking the earth, he's the new Hitler, all this other, nonsense, well, then I know you're not a serious person. You're simply ruled by having a tantrum.
100%. Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed too, and I know you'll agree with this, and I see it in your writing, is I I get a little bit more like I told you, I was going back and forth with him, and then this numbskull that came on our page, who's just the reason he's there is just to help prove our points about who these people really are. And
Yeah.
it's nice. And he does that. He does that. And he's almost like a performs a valuable public service. It's like the opposite of what I say about bullies, that
Hmm.
I think bullies are necessary to the culture of the American people, because they teach people how to toughen up a little bit. And I'm not talking like bullies are going to like break your arm and do shit like that, but getting picked on a little bit or I got bullied by people. They were usually like 5, 6, 7 years older than me, because my brother and sisters group. And so that was even, I had to get tough quick, bro. And I got my ass handed to me all the time by those kids. And then I got a little bit of size and I learned how to box and I got into martial arts, and I got away from being like the timid kid that, the mama's boy who liked to hang out with cats and read books.
Hmm.
And I was always a strong kid and a hard worker. But then it's like, oh, I can remember I started boxing, and I'm not saying this as a self-aggrandizement. It's just a story. And I didn't even mean to do it, but I had the soccer ball. You'll like that. But no, I was like in junior high, I think. And some
Hmm.
dude, fifth grade, sixth grade, somewhere in there. And I'd been boxing for a couple of years. And some dude, we turned out to be friends, of course, later on, because in the small towns, this happens all the time. But I had the soccer ball and I was talking. He goes, "Give me the soccer ball." And I go, "No, we're going to play soccer here." And he comes over and he rips the soccer ball out of my hand, out of my arm, got
Oh,
it
bad
cradled like
idea.
this.
Bad
And
idea.
this is the first time I'd ever, like, because I was used to getting my ass kicked by older kids, at least not like necessarily like that, but just, grab me, hold me, do all that kind of
Yeah.
horrible
They're older
stuff,
and stronger. Yeah, I get it.
torture me, that kind of thing, deep pantsing. I went through all that horrible stuff. And so he ripped it out of my hands, and I didn't even think. I just went, pap, pap, two jabs and an overhand right, and he's on the ground and he's missing a tooth and his nose is bleeding. And I'm like, everybody looks, and I look and I go, holy shit, this shit works, man. And I think that's probably the first time I'd ever purposely like hit another person in the face like that, like except for defend myself or whatever. It's like boom, 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 just like I'd been taught. Two jabs and an overhand right. And he looks at me, he's got blood, and he started crying. And it's like, okay,
You
now I
bitch.
really won, because I never cried in those situations. And he went and got the lady who was in charge of watching us for recess. And she's on the page. I don't know if she listens to our podcast because of my dirty mouth, but I love her dearly. She was the librarian and music teacher when I was in grade school.
Hmm.
And she's still out there kicking and having a good time. I love her to death. I won't call her by her name in case that makes her uncomfortable. But she always kind of looked out for me a little bit, and I did not get in trouble. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that." And then the bell rings and we still go back to class.
Yeah.
And that was that was a really nice moment in my life, realizing that, oh, I have this other set of skills too. You tend to be able to shield yourself better than me because I told you, I said, I'm so worked up this morning that I've got to go, I've got to do some Bible study or something just to calm down. I texted you that and you were like
Yeah.
laughing at me because I just get so pissed off that these people are so stupid and it cognitive dissonance for me. So don't be like me. I'm throwing myself under the bus and saying, if you're going to engage, keep your sense of humor at all times. And you got to disassociate a little bit, be stoic about it, and go, I'm talking to a crazy person. I'm talking to a narcissist, and no matter what I do. But what will happen, and I did it to another guy who was talking shit. And I just go, no, 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 no. I go, here's the facts about Iran and everything else you're saying. Oh, yeah, Trump started this war to make himself look good. And I'm like, and then I talked about what was it that I was talking? Oh, ICE. He invented ICE just to harass minorities
What?
and stuff like that. And it's like, um, 2003, ICE was
ICE has been around
formed,
for a while.
INS, and I can't remember what the other agency they melded into ICE. And I go, and Obama used ICE to deport 4 million people. Joe Biden used them to deport. I can't remember. I had the numbers. I had my receipts. And I go, and never a word from the left on any of those. So I'm just curious what you have to say or why you would think this is a cricket, cricket, cricket. And after I threw that thing at the other guy, cricket, 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 he didn't have anything to come back with. Some people, though, like this dude that's on our webpage, I'll give him credit for being persistent. I think he's probably got like a masochist fantasy. This would be
Maybe, but there's a
definitely a
time to
guy that,
just stay down. There's a time to
yeah.
just stay on the canvas.
I gotta pull up that video that I shared with you guys. I'm sure you saw the video of the retired Canadian hockey pro who was beating the shit out of that guy on the golf course.
Yeah.
And he kept telling the guy to stay down, and the guy was so drunk he just kept getting up. And I thought the old pro hockey player was being very restrained. He'd knock him around a little bit, throw him down, and he wasn't going over there and continue. He was like, "Stay down, stay down. You don't
Hmm.
want this." And he ends up throwing him in the pond like twice and shit.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
kind of that's kind of how I picture this guy. It's like, dude, you're the drunk guy that just picked a fight. I mean, even Lee's taking him to task, which is like awesome. I love that Lee's going, you nitwit, or what do you? Yeah, I can't remember what he called him today.
Well, see, here's part of why those people do this, in my opinion, and why it's hard for them to stay down, because they live in a bubble. They're not used to counter arguments. They think they
Right,
can come in because the culture leans left, because of the ubiquitous nature of the left in education, entertainment, and news media. Although that's shifted a little bit, but it's still, mostly a left-leaning culture because of those facets.
right.
Um, they're used to coming in, saying a bunch of shit, thinking people are going to pat them on the back for how wonderful they are, and never being challenged. And so when they come into some place where they actually have to deal with someone who not only provides a counter argument but knows what they're talking about, it throws them for a loop because they haven't had to do that. Their
Yeah,
friends almost all think the same way that they do.
right.
And so, you know, and any friend that doesn't think that way is usually ostracized as a cornfield. So they get outside of their comfort zone and they come into an arena where a lot of people are on the opposite side and know how to articulate it. And when they try the moral, I call it the moral whirling dervish, to
Right.
come in there and virtue signal everybody, thinking that they've got a mic drop moment, not realizing that mic's about to get shoved up their ass, and suddenly they're like they don't know how to respond, and like you said, they turn into a cliche, they turn into emotion, and it's almost like beating up on the slow fat kid in class
It is.
sometimes.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah,
The
so
Go ahead.
I was saying, yeah, there's times I feel bad, but my I will feel bad when, yeah, I put up a few days ago that my insults were going to be a little more vicious that day because my give a fuck factor was at zero, and I got a little bit more vicious with some folks than I usually would have been. I kind of felt bad about it for a little while,
Hmm.
um, but where I don't feel bad about it is when they come back with the arrogance and don't understand that they look like fools.
Yeah.
And look, the biggest thing that will set me off in the entire world is arrogance combined with stupidity.
Yep.
There's a
That's called narcissism, my friend.
yeah.
That
Well,
that's where that leads.
did you ever watch Babylon 5?
I did a little bit. I don't remember a lot about it. I remember not
All right.
liking the special effects, and I thought the aliens were dumb, but
Yeah, but well, there was a character in there named Londo
that's a long
Mollari.
time ago. Long time ago.
There was a character because I like the premise of it, but there was a character in there named Londo Mollari, and he had he said something that was just absolutely brilliant, I thought, is that uh, arrogance can be outmaneuvered,
Hmm.
stupidity can be outthought, but arrogance and stupidity together are almost unassailable. And that's one of the things that it pisses me off about people. It's one thing to be arrogant when you know stuff. It's one thing to be
Right.
humble when
Right.
you don't know stuff. But if you're going to be arrogant and stupid, then I'm not going to have any mercy there. That because you brought that on yourself. If
Right.
you're going to be arrogant and stupid, then I'm going to have a lot of fun pointing out just how stupid you are because the arrogant hate feeling stupid. And if I can make you feel stupid, I'm going to do it. And my entire goal in life is to turn you into a blithering idiot.
You hear the word brainwash from the other side a lot. And look, the right can be just as guilty of the stupid stuff as the left can.
Absolutely.
And I hate that when I cringe at a lot of people's like, well, you're just a liberal fucktard. You wouldn't know you're. It's like that's not how to get. It's not how to do it. When you're
No.
right, and it's been attributed to Sun Tzu and it's been attributed to Napoleon. I think it's probably more Napoleon than Sun Tzu, but the paraphrase of the when your enemy's making a mistake, just don't get in
Don't
his
get
way.
away.
Yeah, don't get in his way. That's very important in all this too. What was the I had oh, this is a really important point. I'll make this be my last one in this primer about how to defeat a lefty is well just be alive, number one, but because they're going to try to kill you in the womb. Oh, I said that. I did. You already won. I love that meme I saw today. It's like the blue-haired grandmothers, and it's like it's too bad that that they all aborted their children. Otherwise, they'd be home with their grandchildren instead
Yeah,
of.
I saw that.
That's pretty fucking funny. That was yeah. That's hyperbole, folks, but it's funny. It's satire.
Because it does have a grain of truth.
But it has a grain of truth. That's what makes satire funny. It has to
Yeah.
have a grain of truth. If it's totally made up, like Melania being a prostitute that worked for Epstein, it's not funny. There's nothing funny about that. It's just stupid
Just
and
dumb.
gross. Dumb.
Yeah.
Um, I get this one a lot, and I think Factardo over on our webpage, Senor Factardo. Um, I have no idea who this guy is. Like I said, I don't know if he's a plant or what, but it almost feels like it. Like
I think he's from Washington State because
he is.
he did try to yeah.
I saw his profile picture. Well, at least I would assume so, but I saw his profile picture. Which is not him, which makes me suspicious that I thought if this is somebody just fucking trolling us in our own group, fucking this is awesome. But I don't know
It
that
could be our old friend Dave Sandoval.
it could be Dave. No, he's not that. This guy's actually this guy actually can construct sentences and paragraphs better than Dave ever did. Um,
Yeah,
I think
that's
anyway.
rich.
But
Anyway,
um, Dave Sandoval. I get this a lot. Tell me one thing that Trump has done that has bettered your life. The question is a non sequitur because I don't think in those terms. I think in the terms of triage, where
mhm.
you narcissistic, egotistical, selfish, secular pricks think about yourselves. Like when I replied on that when I did that thing about these people like Gavin Newsom when he
Mhm.
used that whole grinder thing, your grinder profile, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so you hate? Oh no, we love the gays. That's not what I was trying to say. Well, clearly he was calling the guy gay and using it as a diminutive.
Oh yeah, which is
The,
something he
the,
would never have tolerated from the right.
right, the hypocrisy in that was just delicious. Um, I don't think in those terms of what's the best for me. I mean, you do to a certain extent. When I'm at the gas pump and paying $5 a gallon, that really affects my life a lot because I can tell you my cost of living uh, raise was not enough to cover for the amount of gas I'm paying this year. Um,
359 down the street from me.
but I also know why the gas prices are high because I understand geopolitics and I understand, economics enough to be smart enough to go, this is why, and it's going to come down when this happens. I got it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with playing
Yeah,
for
a
what
temporary spike so that they're not detonating a nuke over Tel Aviv or
right.
London.
I'm 100% okay paying temporary high prices for the dividends that I think are going to be paid off. But when somebody asks me what's in it for you, how does it affect your life or the common person? I'm like, why would you think in those terms? What's better for the world? What's better for the country? What's better for is it we've been living with this whole fucking thing for 47 years that these bad actors in Iran are developing nukes, and if they get them, they're going to use them.
They'll use them. They'll use them absolutely.
This is not, I mean, how many countries have nuclear weapons? I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head. I used to know this
I
off
think
the top
it's
of my.
eight. No, it's nine. It's
Is
nine
it nine?
countries have nukes.
Yeah, it's Israel, India,
The
Pakistan.
United States, Russia, Britain, France, China, Israel, India, Pakistan, North Korea.
Okay.
South Africa used to, and they gave them up
Yep.
like in the
I knew
80s.
that. Okay. Okay. That sounds exactly right to me. Um, but if Iran was number 10, Israel would be gone. There would be no Israel. And y'all can suck my ass, but a world without Israel is not a good world. It is an unstable world because they're the only thing in that region that has anything to do with democracy or anything to do with Western civilization. It's just
Well,
truth. It's the truth.
if you know anything about the Samson option, Israel is not going down quietly. They would make most of the Middle East glow in the dark. For those
Yep.
who don't know what the Samson option is, research who Samson was in the temple. I mean,
Right.
in the Bible, and what he did. He brought down the temple on top of himself and on top of everybody else. Israel is serious when they say never again.
Yeah.
Now, you said you hit them with the narcissistic thing with when they ask, what has Trump done to make your life better? I actually hit him on two fronts. I will hit him with, we need to be looking at what's good for the world. But if you want to ask what's better in my life here, I can point to this tax cut that
Oh,
gave
I've
me a
got a
refund this
list.
year.
I've got a
I can,
list.
yeah, I can. You're upset about gas prices being at $4 a gallon right now. I remember when y'all thought that was a good thing, and they were all almost $5 a gallon in our area, back in 2022.
Hmm.
Um, I can point to all kinds of stuff like that if you want to look at it at a personal level. In my own life, the Right to Try Act that Trump got passed in his first term, where if there's experimental medication and you have a terminal diagnosis,
Right.
you have the right to actually try that medication.
Right.
That kind of
That's huge.
stuff. So I can
I
do
didn't even
that.
know that was a thing, Russ. I didn't even know that was a thing that was out there. And the fact that went, I'm just like, wow, that is such a great thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So there's the individual stuff that I can point to, and then there's the world-based stuff we can point to. It's a good thing Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon. Some folks are like, what is an imminent threat? Do you wait until they have a nuclear weapon and are about to launch it before you do
Right.
anything? We've got some, I got some folks on my page that are, uh, kind of schizophrenic right now because they want to take care of Iran, but they are upset that Trump's the one doing it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, I've encountered that a lot. Um, they're like, well, we're putting worse people in charge. I'm like, worse people than the folks who would have launched nuclear weapons at Israel and Europe? How do you come up? That's like saying we took out Hitler, but now somebody worse is going to come to power. That makes no sense at all to say we're going to have somebody worse than that. Somebody worse when they have no air force and no navy and it forget the ballistic missile stockpile, which we're already decimating. The ballistic missile production capacity is another thing. People are like, well, they've got all these drones. The drones that are doing minor damage and, are dwindling rapidly, especially as we put countermeasures in place. You know, stop being so schizophrenic and try and evaluate this stuff objectively. But it's very hard for people who are in the grip of the level of hatred they are. Now, some folks, and this is one thing I do want to take issue with some folks say, well, it's never been this bad before. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. I remember when Dick Cheney was Darth Vader and George W. Bush was going to, enact martial law, and they had a picture of him as a vampire taking a bite out of the neck of the Statue of Liberty. Don't give me that it's never been this bad before, hatred-wise. Every Republican who takes office is suddenly Satan incarnate. Now,
Absolutely.
the old folks, if they want to become rehabilitated in the left's eyes, all they have to do is offer one or two sentences of criticism of the current folks. And suddenly this strange new respect shows up.
Right.
But it's garbage. You saw how they treated John McCain. You saw how they treated Mitt Romney. They went back to loving them once they were no longer a threat to get into power.
Right.
It's the way they view the right. They view the right as an existential threat and an existential enemy. And that's why I don't buy this. it's so much worse now. No, it's always been like this, and it just gets more shrill over time.
It's gotten more shrill. Like I talk about, the great Satan is social media, and it's because people that should never be expressing their opinions in public because they're fucking retards have the ability to do that now.
Yep.
And the media has picked up on that, and the media shifted so far to the left to try to satisfy that as their new base, and they've abandoned the middle people and the independents and the conservatives. That's why, and you look at it, Gutfeld crushes all the other late night.
Oh yeah, by a mile. He's like 3 times more,
Yeah,
2 times larger of an audience.
on cable,
He's
and
like
he's on cable. They're on broadcast
I think
TV.
he's double the audience of all of the other talk show hosts put together.
I tell people this all the time. The only reason those TV shows still exist is because a lot of folks that are in the boomer generation,
Yep. It's legacy.
legacy generation, they have broadcast TV, and that's what they're used to. And they
Yep.
think they're still Walter Cronkites and people like that tried to maintain some type of objectivity, even
They
though
still
they
think they're
were.
watching Johnny Carson,
Yeah,
and they're not.
they're not, and they're watching people. And Johnny Carson famously, and I just watched a documentary about him recently because I love Johnny Carson. Grew up on Johnny Carson. I wasn't a Letterman guy. I was a Johnny Carson guy.
No, I never got into. He was the cool guy when I was in high school for some
All my
folks.
friends
I
loved
never
him, and
got it.
I was like,
Yeah,
I
I
always
never got
thought
it.
I thought he was a prick back then, and it turns out he is a prick.
Yeah.
No, I was a Carson guy, and Carson, he never let you know. He never talked about. He made fun of everybody, no matter who the
Yep.
president was. He took shots, but they were gentle shots. I mean, they were roasts, but light roasts. And he made fun of Democrats and Republicans equally. And so the folks that still watch those shows, if it wasn't for the 60-plus-year-old crowd, they'd be getting like 100,000 views a night. I mean,
If
I'm
that.
making that number up, of course, but that's an exaggeration. They'd probably get 150,000. But that's the only reason, because they're used to growing up like I did. You had three channels: ABC, CBS, and NBC, and then we might get channel 13, which
Yeah,
was
you might
the
get the independent station. Yeah.
independent station, where they actually said shit sometimes on TV, which was really cool. But you couldn't get it very well with the rabbit ears.
Mhm.
It only come in sometimes. But
Got rid of the storm.
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. And I don't know. It they're these are children. The way they think intellectually is really childish. The way they behave is childish. This instant gratification, the look at me. I'm going to put a chart up. I wanted to talk about that chart I put up about the expenditures, but we'll do that some other time because I wanted to spend a little bit of time on that. Plus, I wanted to throw the VA numbers in there too, because I saw, oh, yeah, we can't pay for this, this, and this. Oh, but we can pay for war. Well, Department of Defense costs less than any of the subsidy programs that we've got: Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, any of those stuff.
Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security take about 50% of the budget.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And Social Security is by far like 1.7 trillion.
Yeah.
Hello, I just said trillion, folks. I said trillion. Okay. The defense budget is not at $1 trillion. It's not. It's like 800 to 900 billion, which is a lot. Yes, but guess what? You guys have Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security because there's this thing called a military that has kept us from being invaded and kept one of the most important functions of the military, and fuck off this no blood for oil thing, is to protect the resources that allow American citizens to live their daily lives. So that is one. And if whether it's through threat or the Reagan doctrine, which Trump completely believes in, is strength through superior firepower, or peace. I'm sorry, I meant to say peace through
strength. Peace
through strength, and peace through superior firepower. The Reagan doctrine, it works. It fucking works. You're welcome. Hey, all you fucks out there, you're welcome. And I'm not saying you're welcome from me for the time I served. Just in the big picture thing, you're welcome that we do spend that much, that we are so much more technologically advanced than any other military. That yes, we've lost a few service members to this war with Iran, but can you imagine what the numbers would be if we were like most armies? Like Russia had to go into Ukraine with tanks and foot soldiers, and their
And
losses
they're
are
getting there.
astronomical. Astronomical.
They may end up winning in the end, but that's only because they got like 10 times the numbers. They're going to lose about 10 times the troops too.
Yeah, no, if you look at the casualties on either side, woo, the Ukrainians actually number-wise, have been
Yeah.
kicking their ass, number
Well, and
one.
it should put lie to, Russia is going to go into, Poland and Western Europe. No, they're not. Not anymore. They
No.
may have, if they had run over to Ukraine quick, maybe they would have thought about it, but not anymore. They've gotten bled in Ukraine to the point where they know if they tried to go further west, they'd get destroyed.
My I've done genetics both 23 and Me and ancestry.com, and they're actually a little bit different, and they've changed a lot. But guess what? I'm a lot of that I had no idea of. Ukrainian, yes, we knew that. Lithuanian,
Really? Okay.
yes. I'm just a murderous motherfucker. German,
Nice.
Viking, Scottish, Lithuanian, Ukrainian son of a bitch. Yeah, it's kind of scary that I'm Lithuanian. You don't want to make Lithuanians mad, man. Uh,
No.
you just don't. No wonder I've got some of that in me. It's bad enough I have the German and the Scottish blood, but you throw the Lithuanian in there and just
Yeah,
like,
it's
good God.
like hydrochloric acid and boric acid in the same liquor.
Um, there was just one more thing I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was, but no, and that whole idea of we're to see people say we're not doing well in Iran is insane. And I've tried to tell people you really shouldn't have an opinion on this. There's a couple of things that you can't possibly understand unless you've experienced it. Now I like to say I know I'm not gay. I don't have to, S a C in order to not to know that I'm not gay. I'm familiar, as I like to say, I think penises are so gross that I have to masturbate with the lights off so I don't see my own because
Okay.
I would
More
lose all
information on it, but cool.
I would lose all desire. But being in the military is one of them and experiencing that. And you and I had the opportunity to work at fairly high levels and understand. And we went to some pretty big time schoolhouses where we, saw a lot and learned a lot of stuff. And nobody likes the military, as the famous saying goes, until the enemy's at the gate.
Yeah.
And then when the enemy's at the gate, then everybody loves you. Our military and our stance, at least under Trump, certainly not underneath. God help us if a Biden would have been around for this. But well, Iran would have a nuclear weapon in 3 years, and Israel would no longer exist. That's what would happen. But we don't have an enemy at the gate in a literal sense, in a something that you can touch and feel sense. But the enemy's been at the gate forever in this country, whether it's China's spy stealing our technology and trying to buy up land and flooding us. Well,
The
here's
Chinese
another thing.
biolabs that they found in San Francisco.
Yeah. Or the fentanyl raw products that they shipped to Mexico. So the fentanyl came over here and killed, 100,000 people a year. And it's not just the drug addict heroin users that this stuff killed. I told you that I know of two people that I considered friends that I was trying to mentor, younger men who've died of fentanyl overdose. And I know three families who have two of them lost a son and one of them lost their daughter to fentanyl.
Yeah,
The,
friend of mine from Hawaii lost his son because his son took a pill at a party, didn't
right.
know it was laced with fentanyl, and it killed him.
That's exactly what happened in one of the cases. He was a good kid, but was out there partying and oh, sure, and I can say I never did that when I was in college, or anything like that. I THC and alcohol and alcohol and I don't get along all the time, so we don't do that. And THC is not part of my life either. But being around and seeing what that has done to these families and feeling the loss that I did, I wasn't related to, but these were young men that I was literally trying to help and mentoring that I had a real deep spiritual connection with.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that closing the border down and the fentanyl deaths are taking such a nosedive since we closed the border down. That has affected my life directly.
Yep.
So the enemies have been at the gates for a long time. They continue to be at the gates. China is they'll do anything they can to gain an advantage on us economically. And as you talked about earlier, this chess match that Trump is in with the world, China is looking at us in a whole different light. And
Oh yeah.
China and Russia did not fuck off all you people about this Russiagate stuff and Putin's puppet and stuff like that. That's the last thing they wanted was Trump to have a second term, a second go around. Last thing
Yeah,
either of those countries
they would have
wanted.
loved either Biden or Kamala in there.
Oh yeah, can you imagine Kamala? Can you just
No.
I'm trying to picture her as the president, even though this guy says that she was by far more qualified.
It would have made the world. I mean, China would have gone into Taiwan.
She wasn't qualified to be the vice president. We all know they admitted it. It was a DEI hire, and I'm not saying that's not hyperbole. It
Yeah.
was a. He said that he
But
wanted a minority female vice president. He stated
yep.
that, and he said it to the. I'm sure that his handlers like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Not in so many terms, but that's exact. I mean,
He said that out loud.
he did say it out loud. He said, yeah, like the cliche says, said the quiet part out loud. He did. And
Mhm.
was it? It's not just us going, well, obviously, pretty easy to see when you have somebody that's she is. You remember that old word that we used to use, bimbo? Remember that
Mhm.
word? She is a classic bimbo.
Oh, without doubt.
Yeah, the Peter principle did not work in her case. She blew right past that.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, no, there's no way that woman should be within miles of anything that has to do with setting policy for anybody. She couldn't set policy for the blind goddamn albino hairless cat league. She wouldn't know what the hell she's doing. I'm sure that exists.
Yeah. I don't understand the people who say we're losing in Iran. I don't get it.
It's
I mean, what has Iran done that gives you that impression? Their navy
right.
is at the bottom. Their navy is at the bottom of the ocean. Their air force is destroyed. We have free reign in the skies. We have basically buried.
Did you freeze up?
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, that was just like 3 seconds. Go ahead.
Somebody was trying to tell me that we needed to go into Iran and get the uranium. I'm like, we know where it's been rubblized. We know where it's at. We can keep surveillance on it. You're gonna do a ground invasion with 150,000 troops and bring in heavy excavation equipment? Because that's what it would take based on what it's buried under right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, they're like, well, they control the Strait of Hormuz. Well, first of all, you don't ever want to give them veto power, which they would have had anyway. Second, they don't control the Strait of Hormuz. There's a lot of tankers that don't want to go through because they're afraid of random missile attacks or random drone attacks, and I get that. All right, we're working to eliminate that. But that's the only leverage that they have, and it's being wiped out fairly systematically. I mean, I could the two places I could see us using ground troops if we needed to would be Karg Island and maybe Larak
Hmm.
Island, which would control the strait and control the oil infrastructure, control the oil capacity of Iran. It's the only two places I could see it. It would be more like a raid. Um, but Iran has been just shattered. The Iranian news service is pleading with its citizens to not leak the locations of the Basij or the IRGC ground forces because they're being wiped out by Israel and the United States. That is not the mark of a regime that is winning. I have no idea how they get to that other than they just they're spouting off stupid stuff that they have no idea about. It's like saying, "Hey, don't hit Iran one more time; they might bleed on us some more."
Yeah,
That's what's going on.
yeah. Yeah, no, there's and I honestly think if you got to kind of deconstruct a lot of what Trump says because oh God, he's like um our fucktardo, Senor Fucktardo on our Facebook page talking about him being senile and he knows the signs of
Oh,
senility. He's as far from senile as any man his age is. I'm sorry. I actually know what and the guy said that he lost his mother to senility, and God bless him, and I'm really sorry about that because that's if that's true, that's a really horrible thing to have to be around. I get that, but yeah, no, that's not this. This has always been Trump's personality. He's just an older, much more experienced version. If you go back and look at him when he was in his
oh yeah.
30s, 40s, when he was Mr. Celebrity and everybody loved him, and he's hanging out with all the black artists and stuff like that because he's such a racist. He was the same guy. He just was a
Did,
younger guy.
did you ever see his appearance on Letterman talking about Ed Koch?
I don't know. I'm
Oh
sure, but
God,
I don't
you need
remember
to
it.
YouTube it.
I'll do that. I'm
It's
writing it down.
he's a younger guy, obviously, but his rhetoric is indistinguishable from what it is today. He's like they ask him. Letterman's asking about Ed Koch. He's like he's incompetent. He's a horrible mayor. We need to get rid of him. I mean, it's I could have transplanted that to today, and you wouldn't have known the difference, except
He
that it's
was
a
a
younger
he was a
voice.
he was a celebrity and media darling back in the day because of that. They loved him, and
Yep.
like he and Whoopi were the best of friends, and he and Rosie and Oprah and all that. They all loved the guy,
Well, and that's why they
because
thought.
of that personality. But now he's president because he works for the other side, and his views it's not like he's a right-wing conservative or
No,
anything like
and
that.
that's why he kind of got what's the word I'm looking for? He kind of had the wool pulled over his eyes for the first part of his first term because Trump's
Sure.
not an ideologue.
Right.
But since he was already friends with these folks, he thought he could work with them and thought he could cut deals. And because politics is a different animal, and they immediately, tried to send him to the cornfield, it pushed him further to the right. So, in a way, you can thank the Democrats for the much more conservative policies we're getting now, because Trump probably would have cut deals with them on, infrastructure and education and a bunch of other stuff,
Yeah.
except they shut him out. And so he's like, well, if I can't cut deals with you, I'll go to the right, and I know they'll give me what we want together. And because he's not an ideologue, but they wouldn't work with him, so he had no choice but to turn to with the people that he could work with, and that's the conservative base.
I want a businessman in charge of our country and running government like a business who knows these nuances. And it's like, okay, if I can't get my deal this way, then I'll get my deal this way. I like that. I don't want Nancy Pansy, who's a social worker, in charge of fucking anything, because people like that are incapable of making leadership decisions. They're incapable
Yeah.
of it because their emotions run their entire life. And you
Well,
can't make pragmatic decisions when you're fucking an emotional POS. I mean, I think I'm a more emotional guy than you. I don't, maybe you just hide it better. I am an emotional person and I have to put that down, but I'm also an incredibly well versed in critical thinking and rationality, and that's where I try to be,
yeah,
you
well,
know?
and you got to remember that a lot of the people, like the Nancy Pelosi's, for example, and the C. Weavers in New York, the Zoran Mamdanis, the Bernie Sanders, they don't have experience outside of government. Joe Biden was a senator from like I want to say 4 months after I was born. He was in government from the age of almost the age of 29. He got elected when he was 29, but he didn't
Yeah,
take office until he was 30 in the Senate. These people do not have real world experience outside of government. They
right,
don't have experience in business. They don't have experience in the military. They don't have the experience in healthcare. They've been in government their whole lives. So
right.
yeah, it's good to have someone who didn't grow up in government uh, running things. Now, like I said, does that mean that I agree with everything Trump does or says? No. I mean, he and I have differences, especially on things like tariffs. I have some differences with him on that. He says a lot of stuff that I find cringy. But given the alternatives, and that's what a lot of people who are like, how can you possibly vote for this guy? What they don't understand. You want me to vote for somebody else? You have to present me with a viable alternative. You
Right.
can't give me Kamala Harris. You can't give me Gavin Newsom and then suddenly wonder why I don't vote for you. I put a thing up, just a couple days ago about it might have been 2024 that he did this when Joe Biden declared uh, April April 5th the transgender uh, day of visibility. It just happened to be Easter Sunday. And like this is how Trump gets elected because you do dumb shit like this. Okay, present me with a viable alternative. We'll talk. You present me with the Kamalas of the world or the Pete Buttigieg's of the world. Yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump every single time.
If I had a transgender day of visibility, I'd have to reach up and grab a string and go like that for the light switch to come on in the closet. Oh,
I thought you were going to say you were reaching up and grabbing the dildo or something, but whatever.
no, no, you know what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
just, the whole thing, people don't necessarily disgust me as far as individually, but the whole body politic of the entire idea and this whole movement that was allowed to just flourish under the Biden administration disgusts me. It's just uh, and
That's
it's
because
kind of
the
funny. Walsh just talked about this, and I'm going to I will pull up the stats independently about like and we've talked about it, the huge drop in the number of people
oh yeah, big
identifying as
time.
transgender. Yeah, because it was there. What was I listening to? I had YouTube on when I wasn't running errands today, and the whole thing about the oh yeah, they're talking to a mom about how their son was what do they call it, pansexual,
Yeah.
uh identified as pansexual, doesn't anymore a year later. But do you know how old this kid was? He was nine.
Yeah, it
Nine
was
fucking
sad.
years old. Do you know that I had no idea about anything? Unfortunately, I'd already been exposed to porn because I had lousy people around me who weren't looking out for me. But I didn't know what it was. Like I like to joke around. The first time I ever saw a woman's genitalia, excuse me, genitalias, what the fuck was that? Um, genitalia open, I thought she had a wood cutting accident. You know, I was like, oh my God, what happened to her? I had no idea what I was looking at or any of that. When I was a kid, my family told me babies came out of the belly button, and I believed it.
Okay.
Yes. So
Well,
it's
well,
like, and I'd rather a 6-year-old kid think that than be exposed to, oh yeah, how do you feel? Do you feel like, you like pink instead of blue? And do you like I mean, this whole thing has been
part of the reason,
indoctrination and peer pressure.
yeah, part of the reason this flourished was because Biden wasn't running anything. Biden was an empty suit, and all the people around him from the far left wing were given free rein to run everything. I mean, look, as much as I disliked Obama, he did put a few reins on a few folks. Now
No, he did.
he didn't
Yeah,
put the reins on it like I would have liked him to, but he did control it a whole lot better than Biden did because Biden
absolutely.
wasn't there, and the people
Absolutely.
around him knew he wasn't there, so they took advantage of it to put out every left wing wacko fantasy they ever indulged in.
Yeah. No, and you're 100% right. And I kind of want it to get not touchy feely, but kind of put this out there. My disdain, like I said, I didn't really explain myself, doesn't necessarily come from the people. And of course, I know that there are people that suffer from a mental illness called gender dysphoria. That is a real thing.
Hmm.
It's in the DSM-5. And I think some of these people, but I don't think the vast majority of the people out there doing this shit suffer from it. It's narcissism, or it's a deep-seated mental illness where they have such a low self-esteem and insecurity
Hmm.
that this is their way to get attention. But what I want people to be, because I have struggled with mental health in my life, and I know how hard that has been for me and some of the people that care about me. Um, it's something I have to be aware of every day, and I do things when I do things, I do really well. When I stay focused, when I have my routine, when I surround myself with positive things, I handle the stupid shit really, really well, and I don't have this big problem. And I'm a nice guy, and I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky, optimistic guy for the most part. Um, I want people to be able to deal with these things. And by coddling and by allowing this type of expression, and by teachers making it their mandate to go, well, I'm not going to tell your parents that, la, 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 which thank God that's being struck down everywhere in
Yeah.
schools and all that. Thank God that rationality. It's not because I hate people that identify as transgender as a rule. I hate that these people are trapped into this thing and they're not seeing an alternative other than doing this. And it further separates you from reality. And
Hmm.
you know, I hate it. I hate reality too sometimes. Reality really sucks. I mean, life is hard. Life is a
Hmm.
struggle. And as a man of faith in the Christian faith, I have a better understanding of that, I think, than some people do as to why there is suffering and all of that. But I want people to do as well as they can. I really do. As a group, people are incredibly resilient. We've done some amazing things. When I was giving a sermon in my little church a couple of years ago that I had, and I was like, do you realize we actually shot a satellite, or a not a satellite, but a spacecraft to this asteroid that was like 50 million miles away from the Earth, and we landed on it, and we put another little thing on it, and we drilled into the asteroid. Do you know we did that? We did that. We're pretty fucking cool. We can be really, really cool. And I want that. I want people to be really, really cool. And the whole why didn't you counter that our buddy there tried to put that meme up about how come there was no counter protest to the No Kings protest? Because people that
They
I
had
know
jobs.
are more conservative and are people of faith do cool things for themselves and their families, positive things. It wouldn't occur to me to, it might occur to me in the future if we can't get this stuff down to start going to some anti-protest, but it wouldn't be for the reason to protest. I'll just leave
Be to
that.
mock them.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll, I'll leave it at that. Um, but if we can't get this stuff under control, then there's a lot of pissed off people, especially my veterans groups out there. There's a lot,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of people are ready to fucking roll. You know, and you and I don't both have talked about that. We don't want to come to that. I want people to do well, and placating and fostering this and oh transgender and this and this and when a woman says I have 3 kids and they're all transgender, oh you should be in fucking jail because
Yeah,
there's something you're fucking doing because that is impossible. The odds against that are astronomical. I could like shoot an almond out my ass and hit the Space Needle with the same odds. I have
yeah.
no idea
The
why
odds
I
are the
no
odds are
idea why I
long.
made
Yeah,
that
you
as
can
an
have
analogy.
one.
What's that?
It's like what Bill Maher said. You know, it it sure seems to be geographic in nature.
It
Either
sure is.
Ohio is shaming them or California is naming them.
Right. Oh, I mean, we have a mutual friend that has 2 transgender kids.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm like, how'd that happen? I'm not blaming that friend at school or whatever. Maybe it's legitimate. Maybe the odds just fell that way. All those things could be true. But it's like both of her kids are transgender. And it's like the odds are really, it's just not, I mean, this we're not talking transgender to the point where I date a girl and she goes, oh yeah, I slept with a few girls when I was in college, and it's like, oh, all right, that's kind of hot. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a little different than going, yeah, I'm a man.
Well, yeah, the
Mm,
odds are about the same as me winning the Powerball twice.
right, or me shooting an almond at my head.
Out of your ass to the Space Needle. Yeah, that's not a visual I
I'm
really
not sure
needed.
where that my analogies. I don't know where they come from. It's like I have
Some
like a
weird,
Wi-Fi like 5G connection to the universe.
probably from that hair.
Oh, I didn't even mention the fact that I got rid of the winter
I,
beard.
I I noticed it. I mean, it now it's like nice and blocky again.
It is. It is. No beard, no. The only problem is it doesn't hide my double chin being
Well,
not.
but that hides the bolts that are on the side of your neck.
You gotta get the tissue out of the way. Like, oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
like it's like like a Shar Pei, like trying to find a tick on a Shar Pei. That's fucking gross and awesome. What I just said. Finding a
yeah.
tick on a Shar Pei. That's like
Okay.
that's like I'll have to say that to a fat guy about finding their penis someday. Yeah, it's like finding a tick on a Shar Pei. I bet.
Um, Real quick,
I'm on
because
a
I know
roll
we're
tonight.
probably coming up here soon, is you mentioned about resilience and what humanity can do when it wants to. Did you happen to watch the launch yesterday?
Yeah, yeah. I put those videos up in case you guys missed it, but
No,
yeah,
I
you mean the one that's not made a big deal, although it should be one of the biggest stories of the last decade that we're sending
yeah,
astronauts around the moon again.
yeah. I watched it and my youngest watched it with me. It was because look, we have not been to the moon in my lifetime. The last person on the moon was roughly a year before I was born. So, we haven't done that. Now, I did see something funny. If I was, I could see either one of us doing this. If I was one of the astronauts on the Artemis mission, I would find the seat that was going to like be on the far left side or whatever, so that when I rounded the moon, I'd have gone further into space than any human in history, and I wouldn't bring it up until the press conference.
Ah,
Just as another mic drop.
that would have been that nobody would have known what you were doing either. That would have been an awesome way to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
was
move out of that seat. I want to sit there. Yeah.
I was joking around on with a few people that on their pages where they could probably take it that I don't understand. Well, I know why it wasn't a bigger story because it looks like Trump has a success and God
Yeah.
forbid, even though how long has this been planned for? How many years has this been planned? It
Yeah.
had very little. I mean, Obama tried to destroy the NASA and everything else. We know that he did his best to unfund and destroy everything about space exploration. But Trump is into it. But I was like, how come it didn't really be a bigger deal in the mainstream media? And how'd it be? What the fuck? I gotta go look in the mirror and see if I got tan all of a sudden. How was it not a bigger deal with mainstream
Yeah.
media? Because, dude, there's a black guy, a chick, and a Canadian.
hmm
I mean, we're talking about not.
Did
I was
Did you
going to joke that it was
see?
a DEI mission, but I'm
Did
sure they're all
Did you
incredibly
see
well
what how
qualified.
the astronaut responded though to the questions about his race?
The black gentleman?
Yeah.
I did not.
Oh, it was awesome because the reporter tried to make it a racial thing. It's like, so how do you feel being one of the only black astronauts and the first black astronaut to go to the moon and all this other stuff? And he said, "Hey, look, this isn't about race. This is about it's about humanity. It's about humanity transcending that stuff."
Yep.
It was a great answer. If you get a chance, you should watch it. Basically, he shut the reporter down and be like, "Let's not talk about race. Let's talk about humanity. This is what humanity has been able to accomplish." And it was great.
Yeah, I did not hear that, but I have heard him talk in other things, and he seems like a stud.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, I would. You know why I would like to put a Canadian on the moon? You have any idea why?
I
Because
don't.
look, since we were the first people to the moon, Americans, we were that plucky little tribe that got there first. By all the standards, we own the moon by all the other people's standards. And I would love to see a Canadian go up there and have to acknowledge that he has set foot on stolen land by being a Canadian on the moon.
If I was the commander, well, the moon, Apollo and all that stuff was still kind of like we thought we were gonna, we were supposed to be at Mars by like 1988 or something like that.
Oh
And I
yeah.
told I told mom when I was a little kid that I was going to be the prime minister of Mars, and I wrote a paper like in my little grade school class about what do you want to be when you grow up, and I talked about all how I was gonna how because I encyclopedias and sci-fi books and
Yeah.
all this stuff I devoured them, and prime minister of Mars, and if they could get me in a little bit better health, I would totally go to Mars right now if I could and live my years out there as long as I could take the dogs. But um the the uh the Apollo thing, that was all still real big because I was born in 1970, and there was
Yeah.
like several more missions to the moon after I was born, and I devoured that as soon as I was able to read. And it was still kind of a big deal until we fucked up and stopped doing that, and we went into low Earth orbit with those shuttles. Ugh.
Yeah.
Um, the outstanding thing that I always thought about was, the Americans made it. The Americans are the only one that makes it. If Canada did go up there, if I was like the commander of, Artemis 6 when they did, I would make the Canadian walk up to the north of us,
Yeah.
stay there for a minute, and I draw a line. I go, that's where you belong, up there. Don't worry, we got this.
Nice.
Anyway, we should probably go. It's
It's been a couple hours.
been a couple hours, but
We didn't even get a chance to talk about Bondi getting fired.
I
Uh,
know it's kind of a it's
Chrissy
kind
Nolan's
of
husband wearing fake tits.
it's kind of an anti-climax to me because I thought she was going to get fired a while back. Her mishandling of the Epstein files and a couple other things. I heard too that um, one of the reasons this is through not him, but Dan Bongino. One of the reasons that he jumped ship a little quicker than people thought he was is because he couldn't get along with her. That they did not see eye to
Yeah.
eye on a lot. And I know her and Cash Patel have had some conflict.
Yeah, well, I think unfortunately they're going to try to replace her with Lee Zeldin. I think Lee Zeldin's doing great at EPA. I wouldn't
I
have
do
messed with
too.
that.
He's doing awesome,
Um,
actually.
I would rather have seen her be replaced with like a Ron DeSantis maybe. That would
Yeah,
have been great.
yeah.
I think it's a little early in the term for Ted Cruz to become the Attorney General. I think if Vance or Rubio win in 28, that's 4 years into Cruz's next Senate term. I think then maybe he could be appointed as Attorney General. But I, I I'm sure. Look, Lee Zeldin would do a great job as AG if he gets appointed there. I just think he's doing a great job at EPA, getting rid of all the stupid, bullshit climate change regulations. And I would, I would rather have somebody else at AG just so we could keep Zeldin, doing the right thing at EPA. But I'm not
Yeah,
president. I don't have 100%
he's
electoral
doing big
votes.
things. He's doing big things at the EPA. He's really good. I think he's been one of the better cabinet members that
Yeah,
Trump has appointed. And I'll just say this, it's oh yeah, good riddance. Yeah, Trump's shitty. Well, here's the difference between Trump and Biden. When Trump is not 100% with how somebody's performing in the job, he gets rid of him.
yeah.
Biden
Who
kept
did
the
Biden
same.
fire?
He didn't fire anybody. I mean, what you're who did she take? Who was the predecessor under Biden? His name?
Uh, Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland. Mayorkas, Garland,
Yeah,
whatever that.
Mayorkas for sure. Lloyd Austin after he disappeared for a month.
Yeah, this same guy that said something about keg's breath or whatever on that one page. I'm like, so you like Lloyd Austin? He did a better job than. I'm like, you're one of those. Pete Hegseth is doing a fantastic job as Secretary of War. Fantastic job.
He's doing a
So
better job than I thought he would do. I'll be
me
honest
too.
about that.
Me too. I think he's doing a great job. We talked about it. He's back to the we're war fighters, we're warriors, and
Yep.
like we talked about last time, let the war daddies war daddy, and that's his
Yep.
that's his attitude, and that's what creates that esprit de corps and that morale and soldiers being. And I'm sorry, the American army is not the Russian army. It runs on morale. It runs
Yep.
on all that. And that's why some of the Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, there was a lot of really tough stories coming out of those wars because, yeah, a lot of things happened that obviously did not build unit cohesion and morale and a belief in the mission. And American soldiers are that way, man. That's what makes them ferocious is that belief, that abiding belief in what they're doing is the right thing. And
Yeah.
we're one of the, I wouldn't say we're the only army in the world like that, but we're one of the few.
One of the very few. I agree.
Yeah, Israel doesn't have a they have a ridiculously professional military, but they don't have a choice.
Yeah,
Because
they're surrounded by enemies. They have to do that to survive.
do you know there isn't any place in Israel that isn't 30 kilometers away from somebody that wants to kill you?
Oh yeah, I know.
That's how
That's
small that.
one of the things I was going to bring up earlier. One of my first moments of cognitive dissonance that pushed me to the right was as my teenage years I tried to be much more balanced on the Israeli-Palestinian thing. I'm like, I was one of these. The Israelis could have peace if they gave up the Golan Heights and the West Bank and they gave up the Gaza Strip. And this one guy, I don't even remember his name, but I was at a friend's house and he looked at me, he's like, so what happens if they come out of the West Bank and they come out of the Golan Heights and the Gaza Strip and they try to invade Israel again? What happens then? I was like, well, it cuts the country in half. And he just looked at me, and that was that moment where my brain started to go, wait a minute, okay, maybe now I get the strategic situation a little bit better.
I hear you. And you know how I feel about that. I don't have to say anything, but I'll say it quietly so some of our listeners won't hear it, but I'll go, Zion.
Yeah.
There's I'll find it and I'll text it to you or I'll email it to you. There's a fella that I like it. It's a channel. It's a very skewed pro-Israel young guy that kind of
Hmm.
reviews interview. He does interview people too, but he's one of those kind of commentary on other people's podcast kind of thing. It's very
Hmm.
bright, but I got to see the documentary because he talks about that. He's one of those people that if you don't understand that the history of the Israel people and the existence of Israel people is not directly tied to and completely influenced by the Zionist movement, you don't understand Israel. So I kind of want to watch that documentary to get his perspective because I've always heard a lot about those aren't the same thing. And I'll reserve my judgment until I watch that.
Yeah. Take a look
But
and see
no.
what it's like.
Yeah, and you'd like it. He's like 15, 20 minute um
Yeah.
snippets on YouTube. He's a really bright guy and young
I'll try
guy.
to find it.
Yeah, I watch it every day, so I'll send you the link. But anyway, Pam Bondi's gone. We'll see who replaces him. I can't remember the name of the guy who's the acting, but he's well thought of, is from what I understand, very well thought of in the community. And
Yeah. I thought I
can't,
had his name, but I want to say it was Todd Blanche, but I could be wrong.
is that who it is? Maybe that's who it is. I think you might be right, actually. The
Well, if I
acting.
am, it won't be a
Pull
shock
that
because
up so our listeners don't think we're full of shit.
let's see. Okay. Todd Blanche. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I thought
By
that
the
name.
way, and
I did not know a lot about him until this hit, and then they were talking about him a lot on some of the stuff I was watching today and listening to, and they're like, "No, this guy's like incredibly well thought of, and he's a no nonsense prosecutor, and he's been a defense attorney, and he's done a lot of this and that, and so we'll see how that goes." But
and
yeah,
just as a side note, I don't know if you're aware of this. Hegseth fired the Army Chief of Staff uh,
I I heard
a
that
couple
that
hours
might
ago.
happen. I heard that might happen
Yeah,
because
it happened.
wow, what was the chief of staff's name?
Randy George.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that there was some conflict there. Wow.
I but I don't know enough about it to make an assessment on whether it was
He
good or
had to
bad.
really piss either Trump or Hegseth off and said something like, go fuck yourself or something like that because that's a big deal. That's a pretty powerful guy.
Yeah, they asked for his immediate retirement. I'm gonna have to research. I don't know enough about it to make a judgment on whether it was
Yeah,
good
I
or
don't know
bad.
enough about it either. I'll have to look into that. Next week, let's put a pin on this because I want to review. I know it's getting late, long in the tooth, but most people don't go to the theater anyway. We'll review
Hail
um,
Mary.
Hail Mary, and then that'll give me. I did not have a chance this week, dude. I just was both candle at both ends week,
I
and
get
then
it.
we will. I'd also like to talk about For All Mankind because we'll be able to watch two episodes and get more of a
Yeah.
feelers for it. I know you were watching it. And you texted me. You said you were watching it, and I had watched it the day before, and I definitely have some thoughts.
Okay. Well, I look forward to them. Let's see what tomorrow night's episode is like, and then
Yeah,
We can talk about that in
I wanted to get
January.
at least a couple of episodes, 2 or 3 episodes in before I made up my mind. I really was disappointed to see because I watched Yellowstone and enjoyed the first 4 seasons, not the finals. I quit watching it in the final season. But
Mhm.
the Marshals that they came out with the son becoming a United
Yeah.
States Marshal, fuck, it's terrible, dude. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Everybody's like, oh, Casey Dutton, he's so hot. Well, it's like I'm really depressed about my wife dying, and my son's really depressed. And then I'm gonna go do a procedural where we start and then we end every episode where we solve the case. It's like watching all those
Law and
dong
Order.
dong 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 dong. It's like watching CSI or something like that. It's like it
Yeah.
sucks. I'm done. I'm already done. I don't like police procedurals. They bore the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And they've got, of course, a team. What's it? A 1, 2, 3, 5 person team. And the guy that plays, I can't stand the actor who plays the guy that's in charge, the marshal that's in charge of the team. And then they've got the 2 females who are the you go girl types,
Yeah.
who tell guys off in bars and stuff like that. And it's there's like, there's, you might as well have played this game at Cliche Stadium. See what I did right there?
Nice.
All right, bud, I'll let you
All right.
go. I got like not even a third of the stuff that I was supposed to get done today, so I'm kind of depressed. But
I'm sorry about that.
there's always tomorrow. I'll try to get up early and get going. And I got to get my Jeep going somehow. So, anyhow, thanks for your time. Good pod. I'll get this up tonight as usual.
Okay.
And usually it takes about an hour for this to download, believe it or not,
Really? Okay.
because it downloads the video too, and then upload for the pod itself takes about an hour. So it'll probably be up by 10 or so tonight.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, brother. Have a good one. And thanks for listening out there, folks. And remember to keep your focus. And
Stay wokeless.
I did. Here, wait. Can't do it. All right. Out here, baby.
All right.